Let's roll! Here is the star of the show, cardamom. When you buy it whole, you get the pods with the seeds inside. Sure, you can use the powdered, pre-ground stuff, but as with any other spice, using the whole seeds is so much better. We're gonna start with 10 pods that we're gonna smash with the pestle and mortar. Into a hot saucepan they go until toasty and fragrant. And don't worry about the husks, we're gonna strain those out later. You can give them a little toss to make sure that they don't burn, and then we're gonna add 350 milliliters of milk. We're also gonna add 50 grams of butter and 75 grams of sugar. Try not to boil the milk, instead we're just trying to dissolve everything and infuse the milk with the cardamom. So while the wet ingredients are getting to know each other, we can introduce all the dry ingredients. In a bowl, measure out 500 grams of all-purpose flour, 7 grams of dry instant yeast. We're gonna whisk the yeast into the flour, and that right there is a teaspoon of salt that I just forgot to film. Then whisk the salt in as well. You know, yeast and salt don't get along too well, so just try and keep them apart as much as possible. Make sure that the milk is warm and not hot before you pour it in, otherwise you might kill the yeast. Strain out the cardamom seeds and the pods, and then it's just a matter of mixing in the milk and hydrating all the flour. If you have a stand mixer, now's the time to use it. Oh, I almost forgot, we need to add a teaspoon of cinnamon as well. Once all the flour is incorporated, I like to start using my hands. This is a very wet dough, so we can't really knead it by hand, not yet at least. We'll cover the dough and let it rest for 15 minutes. You'll see the difference that that's gonna make. During that time, all the flour gets hydrated and the dough becomes a lot smoother and a lot less sticky. Here's one way to knead high hydration dough. You cup your hand and you sort of fold it in under itself. Another way, which is easier, is to scoop it in from the sides and fold it into the middle. Now, in the beginning it's gonna be quite sticky, but the longer you do it, the more it's gonna release from the sides and it's gonna become a lot more smooth and manageable. We're gonna knead the dough for 5-10 minutes, after which we're gonna cover the dough with cling film and let it proof for about an hour and a half, or until around doubled in size. In the meantime, we can make the filling. For that, we're gonna start by crushing 25 cardamom pods. This time, we're gonna crush the pods until they release the seeds, and then we're gonna get rid of the husks. Or if you're using the pre-ground cardamom, then I have no idea how much of that. I'm just kidding, you see in the end, it's probably around a tablespoon. Then we're gonna continue grinding just the seeds until they resemble coarsely ground black pepper. And straight into the mortar, we're gonna pour in 150 grams of sugar. We're gonna give that a minute until the sugar becomes fragrant and the crystals become slightly smaller. Into a separate bowl, we're gonna combine 150 grams of softened butter and our cardamom sugar. Then it's just a matter of mixing everything in any way we see fit or fun. Now back to the dough, which by now has had time to proof and it's ready to be rolled out. Sorry, couldn't help it. Flour your work surface and your rolling pin and get at it. If the dough starts sticking to the surface, then feel free to add a little bit more flour, but try to keep it to a minimum. You don't really want to add any more flour into the dough itself. What we're aiming for is roughly a rectangular sheet that's about half an inch or a centimeter thick, give or take. Once that's done, we just need to spread the filling evenly across the whole sheet. An offset spatula works really well for that, and that's why I keep one handy at all times. Once all the butter is spread, we're gonna fold the dough. And we're gonna do that by folding the your right third of the dough across the middle, and then fold the right, your left third of the dough over that. Then we're gonna grab our rolling pin again and go over the parcel one more time to make sure we maintain an even thickness, length and width. We're also gonna line our baking tray with some parchment paper so that as soon as we start making some of the buns, we can lay them on top of that. And the way we're gonna do that is cut strips of dough that are roughly an inch or 2.5 centimeters wide. There's probably a correct way to do it, and this is probably not it, but you know what? I don't care. They turned out pretty good in the end, so yeah. Once all the buns have been bunned, we need to cover those and let them rest for another half an hour before baking. In the meantime, we can prepare our egg wash. That's nothing more than beating an egg with a splash of milk. Give each of these beauties a kiss with the egg wash and they're ready to bake. We're baking our cardamom buns at 375 Fahrenheit or 190 Celsius for about 20-ish minutes. And while that's happening, we're smashing cardamom pods one last time. 5 of them, husks, seeds and all, go into a hot pan, along with 50 ml of water and 50 grams of sugar. We're making a simple cardamom syrup, or a little glaze for the hot buns once they come out of the oven. Leave that to thicken a little bit and infuse with the cardamom. And speaking of buns, oh my. While they're still hot straight out of the oven, give them a little glaze with the cardamom syrup and we're ready to enjoy the best bun you've ever tried. No, seriously. Cardamom can be a bit of an acquired taste for some. I know it was for me, but I acquired it pretty quick. So much so that these are now by far my favorite buns. And I'm sure if you gave them a try, they will be yours too. Roll out.